You can.
Minute or so when we get going.
All right.
Well, Trish has her Board of Health meeting tonight too, right? So.
No Board of Health tonight.
Go board. We went to 2 times a month.
Oh, there she is.
There she is.
There you go.
Hey guys.
Hey Trish, how are you?
Hello. Good. So I'm here at the meeting, but I'm gonna be on the road. I gotta bring my little one to softball practice. Can you believe that?
That's a good thing.
Good.
I
Things are
know.
opening. All right.
Great.
All right. So why don't we start this meeting of the Economic Development Subcommittee. As chairman, I will default to Jim because he knows more than me.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So first, I thought we could just quickly review the recent developments with the phasing plan. A lot was kind of unrolled last night in terms of what's to expect for phase 2 and kind of refine phase 3 and 4 a little bit. But phase 2 essentially starts opening up just about a little bit of everything. Retail stores are going to be open. Though at a limited capacity, you gotta kind of dig a little bit to find that. But there is a limited capacity. It's somewhat convoluted. It's 8 people per 1,000 square feet of retail space. So I don't know how we're going to be enforcing that, doing the math and all that. It does state that it requires someone to be in charge of monitoring how many people are in, just kind of like you see at the grocery store when they're doing a little clicker, you're in, and once you meet capacity, you got to start a line. But I don't know how
That
some of
person
these.
counted as one of the 8?
Yep, employees are one of the 8. And
Okay.
It actually does say that, yeah. And so some of the smaller stores, I don't know how they're going to really pull that off, but we'll see how that goes. Restaurants too, a little bit caught off guard. Well, in a good way for Bellingham because we were prepared for it, but I think the restaurant industry was a little caught off guard that they don't have any indoor seating in phase 2. So it's all outdoor seating. And then your typical to-go still. There's a lot of other stuff in there. There's things about athletics. I did talk to our baseball league earlier today about, starting to set up and get ready to go for Monday. Trish, that softball's technically not supposed to be open till Monday, but it is what it is.
So my daughter plays in Rhode Island, so I'm ahead of the game.
Good answer, Trish.
So let's just follow what Rhode Island does.
Yeah, right.
The free state of Rhode Island.
So, Jim, baseball is going to be able to start?
So they're eager to start, and I discussed with them what's required. Let me see if I can get access to it real quick. There's some just generic guidelines that they have to follow. There we go. Let's see. Programs for contact sports must limit activities exclusively to no contact drills and practices. Programs for no contact sports where ordinary play allows for social distance may include ordinary play. Game scrimmages and tournaments are not allowed at this time. Programs must separate participants into groups of no more than 10 participants, including coaches and staff. Indoor athletic facilities can operate for use under the age of 18, which we'll get into a little bit when we talk about one of the businesses. So they have an opportunity there. The 10 participants or less is interesting. I was talking with them about how they would structure that, and they didn't seem to have an issue. I guess, the way I read it, and Bruce, I don't know if you read it the same, but 10 or less doesn't mean 10 on the field. It means a group of 10. So, 10 could be over in left field, 10 could be over in right field doing something. As long as they're, spacing out and doing what they're supposed to do.
More practices right now, no games?
That's correct. Yeah, no games. Games are talked about in phase 3, which is, hopefully within the next month. But yeah, so it's still practices right now.
Jim, that's how I interpret it too.
Okay.
Yeah, and so if you go back to the original order, it was the 10 or more persons outdoor athletic fields were exempt from that.
Yep.
As far
There
as
you
that goes. So
Yeah. So Sue, I'll see you on the baseball field this summer.
Absolutely. I can't wait. I'm
Yeah.
bored.
So there's a lot in there. We've actually been, I know Bruce and I have been fielding a number of calls today about what the heck any of this means. So we'll work with each one of the businesses that calls, has any issues. We have been working with a number of businesses about for restaurants and some outdoor activities. A lot of the smaller retail shops are going to be excited about the opportunity to get going, hopefully Monday. So it's still penciled in for Monday. We're supposed to wait and see, and I think it's either Thursday or Friday where the governor gives us the formal go-ahead. But
Jim, there was no percentage given. I thought there was a percentage given, and then if there was no percentage of, or if there was no number of capacity, then you default to the 8 persons for 1,000 square foot.
so you talking about for retail?
Yeah.
So yeah, I could pull it up. So you have to go to each one of these sectors of businesses have their own guidelines. So it's like I was saying, it's very convoluted. So under the retail, it says each retail store must monitor customers' entries and exits and limit occupancy at all times to the greater of the following. Oh, okay, so there's the second one. So 8 persons, including store staff, per 1,000 square feet of accessible indoor space. Or, you're right, 40% of the retail store's maximum permitted occupancy is documented in its permit. So, I mean, it's just as convoluted, though, I guess. I mean, we're gonna pull out a number, and then we're gonna expect the store holds to that number. And then, if they don't, I don't know, Bruce goes down and tells them, please hold to that number. And I guess that's what we got to do.
All right, that's what I'm saying. So we have the percentage for occupancy, and if we don't have an occupancy number, then we default to the 8 per 1,000 square foot.
Right, that or whatever is greater as well, all times to the greater of the following. So yeah, default or the greater.
And I don't particularly think that it's Bruce's call on the occupancy. That's a Tim issue. If they change the occupancy, I believe the building officials enforces occupancy.
Yeah,
so
good point.
That might be Tim that deals with that. I mean, Bruce has got enough on his plate dealing with masks and gloves and food and all that stuff.
Airplanes.
And Tim's not here either, so we can sign him up for it.
Yeah,
I know, you need something to do.
and deep down, FD has some occupancy in their code too. So if I have to go out and be the guy that does it, I have no problem doing that.
Good point. So that's generally, the updates. There's a lot more to it, but we'll work through it as it progresses. And I expect Monday we'll get, some additional information and details. One thing we've already noticed, Bruce and I, that there's a kind of a glitch in phase 2 where there's a step 1 and step 2 for certain uses, but there's no definition of step 1 and step 2. So we're just categorizing it as phase 2 and moving along.
Jim, I have a hypothetical question for you.
Yep.
We're talking about the number of people per 1,000 square feet. Take a business like Pandolfo's. Are they going to be required to put distance placards on the floor?
Distance placards?
Social distancing every 6 feet.
Oh, I see.
They're essential because they've been open the whole time.
Pandolf Concrete, the concrete company?
No, the chocolate place.
Oh, the chocolate. I'm sorry. All right. All right. That's a totally different name. Sorry.
So
You still have to have that.
Strong water.
They do have to maintain the social distancing. How they identify that and enforce it, it's going to be up to each one of the retailers.
Okay.
Yep. But to that point, though, they do still have to have their plan by the state requirement. They have to have their plan and their affidavit posted so that it's on site. So if Bruce or Mark or Tim slide in, they could point to that and say, all right, they're adhering to the state's.
Jim, are we going to have to, the task force going to have to look at everybody prior to opening and make sure that their plans are in place? Or is it going to be you get the blessing from the governor and then you open up?
Yeah, so it's going to be more so that, you know, you're allowed to open and operate, but if there's some issues that we see, I certainly think we can rally the team over there and discuss with each property owner or business owner that if there's any issues, rather than, you know, doing an enforcement action, we could simply just go over there as a team to say, how can we, you know, work this out in a better manner to meet the requirements.
Okay.
All right. Bruce, any updates for Board of Health? I don't think you've met since the last time, right?
No, we went to every other week or twice a month back to our old schedule.
That's right. Okay. The other item I have here is the small business grant program. So I know the selectmen discussed it last night and accepted the funds. I provided you guys with an application just as a once over. If there's any additional edits or details that you think are necessary, definitely interested in your thoughts. You don't have to give it right now
Looks
either.
nice,
If you want.
Jim.
Pardon?
It looks nice.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I try to minimize the amount of activity that's necessary to apply, but give us enough information to understand the need. You know, so I'm hoping to do a quick turnaround, get this posted probably late tomorrow or something on the website so that it can go live and businesses can apply. The process is going to be, it comes to my office, myself, Dennis Frayne, and Mary McKinnon, the CFO, will review each of these applications because it has a lot to do with finances. And then we'll give some recommendations to this committee. This committee will review it, whether they agree, they think that, you know, that we should refine it a little bit more. And then it goes to the selectmen, who ultimately will be handing out the grants.
Jim, will an inspection be part of it?
Yeah, I think it would be important that if, depending on the businesses, but for the most part, I think it would be important for us to note that these businesses are in compliance. So if, you know, if they're filing for the grant, you know, a quick inspection from the team to go down there and say, you know, you're a contender for one of the grants, but we need to make sure compliance is being met. That way, you know, the selectmen can give out a grant and be assured that they're in compliance with all the, you know, the necessary regulations.
So, one thing, Mary brought up a point last night at the selectmen meeting, and I think that's Mary that's on our meeting tonight. So there's a community block grant that we're applying for that will be available for micro businesses, which is 5 or less employees. So when we start taking the applications, we want to encourage these micro businesses to apply for this small business grant as well, but maybe kind of hold off, and that way if they can get the community block grant money, and we can give the 30,000 that we have, or the 5,000 per business. So it's going to be kind of a fine line that we take the applications and make sure we're appropriating the money where we can, because we certainly don't want to give money to one company if they can get it, or one business if they can get it from a different grant. So, and it was a great point made by Barry last night. So.
Yep. Absolutely. So if there's no other comments on that application, I'll go ahead and get it rolling. Tossed it over to town council this morning, and she was good with it. She added one little line at the end to just kind of cover our bases, but other than that, it was good. The last item here is our normal review of any businesses or restaurants. We did have 2 businesses that I wanted just to bring to your attention and get kind of an agreement on how we proceed with them. I know at the last meeting we had the gymnastics group that we had some concerns on. I relayed those concerns to the business, and they were quick to respond with that they would be amenable to, you know, anything that's necessary, really, and certainly the main thing is the 10 or less at this time. And it comes at a good time because we've received more detail for phase 2. And I think this is one of those where we now can turn it back to the gymnastics group and show them that the indoor facilities limited to youth sports, so 18 or younger, are allowed under phase 2. So you have a number of activities that this organization could likely do for phase 2. Might not open up their entire business, but it could get them going. And then, in phase 3 with the personal trainers, they could, have their whole business up and running again.
And the good thing about their response to your email, Jim, is, and I know one of the points we made out, or I think Bill made, was about if, spotting. And they're not even going to be doing the type of gymnastics that requires spotting. It's be more of a conditioning type thing. So it wouldn't even require a spotter at this point. So, I mean, their response to our questions, I'm more than comfortable with.
Jim, do you need a motion for this?
I think it would be good to have a motion because I would like to relay this back to the Board of Health at their next meeting.
I approve it. I make a motion.
Second.
We have a first, Mr. O'Connell. We have a second from Mrs. McNulty.
And for that business, Jim, to be real critical, they post the appropriate information on the doors.
Certainly. Yep.
And just for discussion purposes, like I said, I think our concerns were the spotting of the athletes and the 10 or more indoors, and I think they've addressed those, and I'm very comfortable. And obviously, since you made the motion and Cindy seconded, I think you guys are comfortable as well. So, any further discussion with regards to this motion?
Nope.
Hearing none.
Sorry, I'm like
say aye.
driving, listening, trying
No.
to throw my comments in, losing connection.
Be careful, Trish. All that matters. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 0. So mark off gymnastics and open on a limited basis once phase 2 takes effect. Perfect.
And then the other business was Trudell's auction. So this was a unique one. It was impressive to see how they got creative with their auction house. They're seeking to do activities outdoors in the parking lot essentially. So it's it's a pretty congested interior space. So the inspection team went out and reviewed it to make sure all the egresses and everything were in place, and I think it went rather well. But so they're moving kind of the auction to side parking lot, and they provided a floor plan or layout, and they've made sure they maintain the fire access and are coordinating it properly. So honestly, I think this is an interesting concept, and I'm not certain this one actually needs a motion because it meets all the standards of the state law about doing business outside. So it's not at their brick and mortar shop.
I just have a quick question on that one.
Yeah.
So because Rock and Coal is going to be doing outdoor seating, is that going to be on the side? Is that where they're going to be doing the auctioning, or is it going to be right where Rock and Coal is?
Yeah, so it's actually on the side closest to South Main Street.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, they're dividing it up pretty well.
All right.
And obviously, Jim, they have permission from the landlord.
And they do. Yep. They have the permission from the landlord.
Trish, I believe that they're going to have their auctions first thing in the morning, and Rock and Coal probably won't open up till the afternoon. So I don't think they're going to commingle.
Okay, great.
I had a question on how many people usually go to those auctions? Do we have to worry about any crowd size?
Yeah, so they talked about when they were anticipating doing inside, they had a handful of chairs that they would just spread out, but they didn't think they were going to have enough space for inside to do the minimum 6 feet apart. But with the outside, I think they're going to be restructuring their business a little bit where it's going to be essentially a path, like a one-way path that you walk through. to
Okay.
look at the auction stuff, and then spread out for any other activities. They have a lot of room over in that area.
That's awesome.
So,
Excellent.
and
Guy, if I
kind of
could,
along, okay, Mark, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry if I could interrupt. I have to go to another meeting. I apologize, and I'll talk to you guys later. All right.
Thank
You're
you.
good with you're good with Trudell's
Thanks,
though?
Mark.
Yeah, I'm good with Trudell's. Yeah. Any other questions before I leave, or?
We'll do
Excellent.
inspections tomorrow, Mark.
Yes, sir.
All
I
right.
gotcha. All right. Thank you.
See you, Mark.
Bye-bye.
Dan,
Bye.
Dan,
So,
Dan, when we were
as
out
far-
there, we looked at all the fire lanes and everything. Mark was, satisfied. We marked out, where to put the barriers up and leave the fire lanes open, access the hydrants. So everything was great.
So, kind of along those lines, Bruce, is talking. Trudell. So, do we want to take a vote on Trudell's just to make it formalized?
I think
or?
we should.
All right. So, can I get a
I'll make a
motion to
motion.
okay the plan? We have a first from Mr. O'Connell. Do we have a second?
I second that.
We have a second from Mrs. Leclerc. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Bye.
0. So the recommendation is to allow that plan. But Bruce, just so you know, there was a phone call to the Selectman and Administrative Assistant Hillary with regards to a woman wanting to have a yard sale. And she called you and you said, absolutely, as long as they maintain the social distancing and all that good stuff. And that woman was so happy. She got the direction from you to Hillary, and Hillary made sure she said, if anyone gives you a hard time, you cleared it for the Board of Health. And so it was kind of like now Trudell's is a bigger outdoor yard sale at this point.
Yeah, on a bigger scale.
So,
But no, it's great.
the last thing I got. Oh, what's that?
We'll probably get a lot of those requests. A lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
people doing spring cleaning since March.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a pile of stuff to get rid of.
Don't leave it
alone.
out in front of Larry's dumpsters, though. I mean,
Well, Savers is open in Rhode Island because they're a couple of weeks ahead of us.
oh, good.
They are. I had a question about that actually, because we were breaking up. So did you say one person per 1,000 square feet for inside?
8.
Hey,
No, eight people per 1,000.
8 people per 1,000?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
including staff.
Okay.
I don't know where they came up with that number, but yes.
Well, Rhode Island is 300 square feet per person, so that's
Okay.
more per square foot.
Yes.
We're better.
Yeah, you see that?
Go figure.
Don't tell anyone.
I had something happen last night. I went to Applebee's in Woonsocket to pick up dinner, and they're allowing indoor dining. So this couple came in with the mat. They both had masks on, and the waitress asked for their name and phone number. And the guy said, "Why?" And she says, "Well, in case we find out somebody is testing positive, we need to notify you." He said, "I'm not giving it to you." Because he said, "I can't afford to take 2 weeks out of work if I have to go into quarantine." So they walked out.
But the thing is that they're doing the social social tracking, and you still need a reservation. So they already have his name and phone number. But
That is true.
But they were indoor. There was no, they weren't doing reservations. These people were walking in off the street.
Just
oh,
walk in.
really? They're not.
I thought you had to
I
make
didn't-
reservations.
I thought
Yeah,
it was
I thought
reservations as well.
I walked right into the restaurant just to pick up dinner. So,
Okay.
Oh, so he was getting takeout?
no, he was coming in, I think, to eat, but I don't believe he had a reservation.
Different rules, different state.
Yeah.
So my daughter went to Gators Pub, and they did the same thing. They had to fill out. They were actually sitting inside. It wasn't takeout, and they had to fill out a questionnaire. Basically, if you've been in contact with anyone that has COVID, if you've had any symptoms, you know, all that stuff, and asked for the name and phone number. And, you know, my daughter was fine with it, but the people she was with gave false names. So they gave
Mickey
they
Mouse,
gave a
Orlando Florida.
they gave a fake last name, but gave their first real name.
Right.
So it's interesting. I mean, I get why they want to do it. So if, you know,
Yeah.
you've been around someone and, you know, to inform you, but if you don't feel comfortable with that and you want to take the chance, then I think you should have that right too.
I suspect it will happen in Massachusetts when you have indoor seating. Oh,
There's
Eugene?
no, there's
Yeah,
no
perhaps.
question he's going to do that. Yeah.
So the last thing I had for you guys is for the restaurants, actually. So the governor came out with an amendment to the alcohol, the ABCC license, and basically allows for local control of that process for the time being. So it does say that they need to make a definitive action of some manner. So our setup of having them come to the board and have a hearing still works well. The thought maybe is to try and tack on a few more restaurants though before we get to the next meeting. So I know Bruce, myself, Mark, and Tim are going out tomorrow. We're going to Uno's tomorrow. Perhaps also we're hitting the 3 chains of Outback and Chili's as well. And we're reaching out to a number of other restaurants to say, you know, now's the time to be doing this. We got a number of, a lot of hesitation from the chain restaurants at first, but now that they were kind of caught off guard with the fact that there's no indoor seating, I think they're now more receptive to doing some outdoor seating.
Go get 'em, Tiger.
And we also went to places that don't have liquor license, such as Town Pizza and Pam's, with some, you know, they have some options. And so that doesn't even really need to go anywhere else. It's just that they have the option to expand some tables out there. Now the order from the governor goes through November 1st, or when the order is lifted. So that does leave a little bit of gray area for the restaurants, or a little bit of uncertainty for the restaurants, that, you know, there is no, I have this permit through November 1st. It is more of if the governor lifts it, I'm not in compliance. Obviously the enforcement is at the local level, so, you know, we would certainly be working with the restaurants to get it to an appropriate date.
Jim, I have 2 questions.
Yep.
Bill.
Has Whole Foods approached you for eating?
No, Whole Foods is not. However, I have discussed all the restaurants and anybody interested with WS Development, who owns all those plazas.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had a lengthy conversation with them today. So I think they are pushing their tenants to get involved.
Secondly, Dan, can we look for a mechanism so this can be done next year for these restaurants?
So, yeah, Bill, with that is first of all, we're looking at, because I guess the town of Bellingham was way too proactive and started pushing these restaurants to go through the application and go through the public hearing with the 10 days notice and the abutters list. So we have, 6, 7 restaurants already that have spent some money for their ABCC application, as well as their abutters notification. So that being said, we're trying to see if we can get some of that money refunded since they don't need it anymore. On the other hand, we're also talking to Rep Soder and seeing if this was a one-time application type thing, and if they do pay the money and they did what they have to do, if we can make it seasonal, and if we can expand it to either beyond the November 1st date, should they choose, or beyond the end of the stay-at-home order that the governor issued. So we're kind of working through some of those things, but yeah, I mean, if it works out, you may have some of these restaurants saying, yeah, this wasn't worth it for us. But there are certainly some that are gonna be like, this is great, let's do it every year.
Yep, I agree.
So we're kind of figuring that one out here, because now you've got, some restaurants that, and I think the, and I'll talk to my colleagues on the board and Dennis and Jim. There's some restaurants that didn't go through the formal application just yet, that they have a liquor license and we have the authority to expand their premises and go ahead and do it. Just knowing that you're at the once the order is out of play, you no longer can do this. So
Mhm.
it's kind of a back and forth right now. And I talked to Jim today about that. So, but yes, if it works out and these businesses want to do that next year, by all means, let's do it.
Jim, is there any way, how many restaurants have applied and spent the money?
Oh, I think it's 4 maybe, 4 or 5 at this point. I mean, it's not big dollar, but nevertheless, I mean, if it's not necessary, certainly going to try and get the refund back for them.
And the only money we
Second
get
thought we
back.
may want to look at is, let's say for some reason we can't, or it's difficult, or it takes some time. Would any of the grants be applicable for that?
I mean, technically, it's something that they spent, debt incurred, perhaps.
I mean, that's another avenue we may want to look at down the road.
So the application fee is paid to the ABCC.
Yeah,
There's nothing paid to the town, so it's not like we could abate. And then the other
Okay.
cost was the what is it, $7, Jim, for the abutters notification, so they have to,
Yeah.
so as opposed to a 50-cent stamp. So
Okay.
that's where their big the big money is spent, if you will. But so yeah, we're gonna see if we can recoup that, and it's one of those things that it's great. Thanks, Charlie, that you did this again for us, and well, because we were too proactive, some of these businesses incurred costs they didn't have to incur. But I digress.
There's
No
nothing
judge.
wrong with being proactive, though.
No,
No.
I know.
Yeah, I hear Franklin is jealous of us, so because we're so proactive.
Oh yeah, we're in hot topics on the Board of Health front.
Yep.
Well, there you go. Trailblazers.
Like that.
I do.
So the applications going forward for any businesses that want to apply for phase 3 or even phase 2, is that application still on the Bellingham website?
No, so it's kind of a call in now, because what I talked with Bruce about this is we want to talk to the business owners first, to see if this is something where maybe they just don't understand it quite right, and we can help them out before them putting in the time and effort to submit an application with supplemental documents, and then for us to call them then and to say, hey, you don't even need this. So the goal is to just work with them up front, but if there's any issues, then we have them fill out the application and come to you guys.
Right. Sounds good.
That's all I have.
Jim, that's all you got? Then apparently that's all I have too. Anyone else
The
have any?
only other thing is schedule.
Yeah,
So
what's
do you
our
wanna
plan?
just, do we want to just meet as needed at this point?
Certainly do that.
Me.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Actually, there's one thing I want to add to
Nope,
Jim.
it's too late.
I haven't asked for an adjournment.
You said you had nothing.
I really don't. But so we have this economic development committee established, right? And I know, Cindy, from a Board of Selectmen perspective, we've been trying to establish an economic development committee for years, and for some reason we didn't do it. So once this is over, what I would like to do, and I'm going to task Jim with it because, well, he does everything else, so why not, is to kind of maintain this and maybe redirect the scope of what this committee does as far as attracting businesses.
Mhm.
And there may be a different makeup of what the committee is. But we have the committee established. It's an ad hoc committee of the selectmen, and And I would love to see this committee going forward. You know, again, might not be me, might not be with everyone else here, but the committee itself, the bones and the structure is there, and then we can actually use it for the different purpose that we discussed, you know, years ago, as far as attracting the right businesses to the town. So,
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's a
absolutely.
great idea. I just have one,
Count me in.
I'm in.
Jim, I need
Excellent.
clarification. Sitting on the planning board, if I'm allowed to do it.
Yeah, I mean, at this time, yes. You know, we might need to adjust the scope though, and as Dan mentioned, that maybe adjust the members. But at this time, I don't see the harm in it.
Okay,
You know,
I'm all for it.
I understand your concern though. I mean, if we're attracting new development, you're going to be on the permitting arm of that. So,
Mhm.
but we can discuss that further.
I think it's a
Yeah,
great idea. Look,
yeah, we'll discuss the
long
makeup of
overdue.
it. But since we have a link on a website, we might as well keep it going. Right?
Work went into it.
All right. At this point,
Less work for Jim.
anyone? Exactly. See, I always try to make Jim work less because I give him too much to do to start with. Any further comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
So
All
moved.
right, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Cindy and Trish, we got it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 0. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Nice
Good night,
job.
everybody.
Thank you guys. Have a
Hey,
good night.
have a great night, guys.